Yes, indeed. It is called Lothric, where the transitory lands of the Lords of Cinder converge. In venturing north, the pilgrims discover the truth of the old words. The fire fades, and the lords go without thrones. When the link of fire is threatened, the bell tolls, unearthing the old lords of Cinder from their graves. Aldrich, saint of the deep, Farron's undead legion, the Abyss Watchers. And the reclusive lord of the profaned capital, Yon the Giant. Only in truth, the lords will abandon their thrones. And the unkindled will rise. Nameless, accursed undead, unfit even to be cinder. And so it is that ash seeketh embers.
Well, that was fun. Good evening and welcome to Dark Souls 3. I'm going to be doing a fantastic blind let's play of the game. Like 99% blind. I've played a tiny little bit just to get like settings right and stuff like that. So, yeah. That was quite the cutscene opening up there. Alright, so we're gonna character creation, we're gonna do that. I have a character that I've already created when I was testing stuff, so I'm just going to load that up, then we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. I do want to spend a lot of time on other things. We need a name, I'll do that in a moment. Well, let's go through and look at all the classes. So your class basically dictates like some of your starting gear, mostly armor and weapons, and then your starting stats and like what level you are and stuff like that. And then beyond that, it doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you want. You could roll as a knight with like the heavy armor, and then put every single point of you leveling up into intelligence and become a heavily armored spellcaster. Which I mean, if you want to do it, go for it. So we're just gonna run through these real quick. Knight is what I just said. An obscure knight of poor renown who collapsed roaming the land. Sturdy, owing to high vitality and stout armor. So, high strength, high dex, so decent, like, melee character to start with. And, high vitality, so a lot of health. And then they got the heavy armor. They're also gonna, like, fat roll, and not a fan of that. Mercenary. A mercenary and veteran of the battlefield. High dexterity allows for the masterful wielding of dual scimitars. So this is your dex melee starting class. Interesting that it's, I don't know, it's a tiny icon, but with the starting gear there, it looks like you might start with 2 swords and a shield, but the 2 swords are together. So maybe when you try to two-hand your scimitar, you will wield both instead of one with 2 hands. That's interesting. That's a thing that I kind of want to play around with. There's the warrior, descendant of northern warriors famed for their brawn, utilizes high strength to wield a heavy battle axe. So just like more in on strength and less on survivability than the knight. It's the mercenary and the warrior are kind of strength and dex counterparts to each other. The herald, this is where things start getting a little bit more interesting. A former herald who journeyed to finish a quest undertaken, wields a sturdy spear and employs a gentle restorative miracle. So yeah, some of the classes start as like hybrids. So you can start, spears are the little bit of strength and dexterity. They start with like a pretty beefy looking kite shield there. And you also start with a miracle, so you can cast the heal spell on yourself. That's interesting. I like that. I like it a lot. Thief, common thief, and pitiful deserter wields a dagger intended for backstabs alongside a military issue bow. So the thief class is actually the one that starts with the bow this time around. That's kind of cool. Again, very high dexterity, and looks like a lot of points in luck to start with, which is also interesting. Assassin's another one of those cool hybrid classes. An assassin who stalks their prey from the shadows, favors sorceries in addition to thrusting swords. I like this one. It looks like the sorcery they start with might be like move silently, so that you can get closer to enemies and like sneak up on them better without alerting them. I don't actually know for sure if that's what that spell is, but that's just what it looks like to me. I don't know. Sorcerer, all in on magic. So the assassin's kind of the hybrid, you know, a little bit of dex and then also a little bit of magic. Sorcerer is just like all magic. No real physical abilities to speak of, although they do start with 12 dexterity and a like a short sword or something. A loner who left formal academia to pursue further research, commands soul sorceries using high intelligence. Pyromancer, another staple of the Dark Souls games. A pyromancer from a remote region who manipulates flame. Also an adept close combat warrior who wields a hand axe. Pyromancies in this game are similar to Dark Souls 2, so there's a lot of Dark Souls 2 mechanics and things that like were carried over into this game. A lot of the good ones, a lot of, like, I was fine with a lot of the Dark Souls 2 mechanics, most of them, many of them, but there were like gameplay design choices and stuff that I didn't like. That's why I'm always so hard on Dark Souls 2. It was a good game. It was not a good Dark Souls game. It was not a good follow-up to the first Dark Souls, although I don't know if such a thing could exist. Maybe Bloodborne? I don't know. But yeah, so pyromancies will scale based on a combination of your intelligence and your faith in this game. So you need both magical stats to like really, really boost your pyromancies. Yeah. So then there's the cleric. So this is the sorcerer's counterpart, all in on holy magics. And then the sorcerer has some dexterity and a dex weapon, and cleric gets a strength weapon. So a traveling cleric who collapsed from exhaustion channels high faith to cast many and varied miracles. And then there's the classic deprived. You start naked, no armor at all. You start with a couple of planks of wood kind of lashed together with a rope and a wooden club. I usually like starting as the deprived. That's usually a fun class for me. I think we're gonna roll as the warrior, though. The big benefit to starting as one of these other classes is, you know, if I know that I'm not going to be doing any magic, anything at all, ever, for the entire run through the game, and I'm just not going to touch magic, no sorceries, no miracles, nothing like that, then I don't need any points in attunement. And the warrior starts with 6 attunement, so that's 4 points that have gone elsewhere in that character that are stuck in attunement, not doing anything for the deprived. But Deprived also starts at level 1. You can gain a bunch of levels real quick. I don't know. I like the Deprived. I will probably be Deprived for my second playthrough of the game. But for now, yeah, we're going to go all in on Strength. This is going to be just a classic, you know, go for as much endurance and as much strength as I possibly can, and then just wield the biggest, heaviest, smashiest thing that I can possibly find in the game. That is how I like to play. So we're going to do that. Burial Gift is your starting item that you get to select at the beginning of all these games. So we have a life ring. Ring set with a small red jewel. Raises maximum HP. I might just take that because it's like the only non-consumable item in here. It's not super useful, but it could give us a tiny edge early on in the game, and that might be good. Divine Blessing. Warm, blessed holy water. Fully restores HP and cures ailments. So that's just an elixir or something from a Final Fantasy game. Full restoration of your health. Removes all status effects. Pretty handy to have. I don't remember if they undo cursing or not, but this item always falls in the too good to use category for me, where I hold on to it forever, thinking I'll save it for any sort of emergency, and I never end up using it. Hidden Blessing, similar sort of thing. Pure blessed holy water fully restores FP. We will talk about that in a bit when we get into the actual game. Black Fire Bombs, these are real strong. They're pretty handy to have early on in the game. Let you take out some tough enemies that you're not strictly meant to be fighting that early. Firebomb charged with a special black powder, an uncouth gift for the departed. Fire Gem, this is like a it's the weapon upgrade system in this game appears to be similar to Dark Souls 2 in that when you find the person who can upgrade your weapons, you can just upgrade that weapon at any time. You don't, like Dark Souls 1, you had to level your weapon up, it has to hit +5, and then you can turn it into a fire weapon or a holy weapon or a magic weapon. You can put 5 more levels into it, and then you can make it more of a fire weapon or a chaos weapon or a dark weapon or, whatever the case may be. In this game, it's just like, at any time you can be like, hey, here's a fire gem, give me make this a fire axe instead of a regular axe. So, I don't know, that might be a good one. I don't know if that's a thing we're going to want early on in the game. Again, fire is going to scale with faith and intelligence, and I'm not going down that route. I'm not going to be doing that. Sovereign the Soul, it's another interesting option. This is just a lot of souls. Oh, we didn't read the thing, did we? Material used to upgrade to fire weapons, more appropriate for a warrior than pretty trinkets. I do agree with that. Sovereign the Soul. The Sovereign the Soul of one who slept beside you, used to acquire many souls. So this is just going to be like a huge early game experience bonus. It'd be good for front-loading a bunch of levels. We would be able to use this and maybe gain a level or two right away. But then all that means is that the next couple of levels are going to take even longer for us to get. So it's just kind of front-loading things a little bit. I don't know, it might be an okay idea. Rusted Gold Coin, this is the same as what it was in Dark Souls 2. Burial item for good fortune after death. Greatly increases item discovery for a short while, so it just cranks up your item discovery for a bit. It would be really good to have when you have played the game enough to know what enemies early on in the game have a chance of dropping really good equipment. And my controller, my analog stick is drifting a little bit, so it just is off center and it's going to keep without me touching it. So sorry about that. It's yeah, anyway, so good for getting items if you kind of have items you want to shoot for, like rare things have a small chance of dropping. I'm thinking like Dark Souls 1 getting the Black Knight weapons early on, that sort of stuff. Cracked Red Eye Orb, this will let us invade people, become a Dark Spirit and invade another world. One use only, so you just get one shot at invading somebody. It's not the repeated use item. But this might be, I'm assuming you need to invade somebody to get the item in order to join whatever the covenant is. Whatever covenant it turns out to be, the Brotherhood of Blood or the Dark Wraiths or whatever that turns out to be in this game. And then the Young White Branch. Perhaps an offering of peace can be used to blend into the environment, but only once. So this will cast the chameleon spell, I guess, on you. Some previous Dark Souls games make you disguise you like something in there. So good if you're invading or if you're being invaded and you don't want to deal with it, or you want to ambush people or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna go with the life ring just because we don't have any rings to start with, and a tiny little bit of health is not awful. So we'll do that. Characters already all set up. We need a name. Let's go with... yeah. Alright. So this is Rose. Rose is going to be my super crazy razor girl. We're going to just be chopping everything up. So with that, let's rock and roll here. Okie dokie. Welcome to the cemetery. Get an axe. I like the way they've redesigned the menu stuff here. I think it's nice. Similar to Dark Souls 2, you can hold up to 3 sets of weapons, you know, offhand and main hand. We have our armor. Let's check out some of these things. We'll actually start at the bottom here. So Estus Flask, we start with 3. That's cool. The undead treasure, these dull green flasks, HP recovery. The journey of an undead has always traced the bonfires, and no journey of import has been made without an Estus Flask. There's the dark sign. This is the, like, just kill yourself button. It's if you get caught in, like, a situation that you can't physically get out of or something. Maybe sometimes you need to use that, but generally you don't. Carriers of the dark sign are reborn after death and eventually lose their minds, turning hollow. And so it is, they are driven from their homelands. Way of White Circlet. This is a new thing. It's also, this has a number in the corner, so it's like a one-time use item. And then the Estus, you know, also, we have 3 uses of those, although the Estus will be refilled when we rest at a bonfire. You should know how this works. So those who engage in unjust deeds when in contact with other worlds will lose their connection to them. Way of White Circlets assume such sin as their own, but are found few and far between. Acting without honor will never be without risk. So online play item, restore the connection to other worlds. I don't understand any of that at all. Makes no sense. The life ring, a generations-old ring set with a small red jewel, raises your max HP. Rings have unique powers, and their discovery will do much to ease a wearisome journey. You get 4 ring slots again, just like Dark Souls 2, and rings have weight again, just like Dark Souls 2. So that's kind of cool. I am kind of okay with that system. Our gear, our armor. So we have iron armor, so kind of not like super heavy like plate armor like the knight started with, but this is kind of on the heavier end of, I think, still like in kind of considered in the medium armor range. So it's all going to have decent poise and pretty good physical damage resistance for us, which is nice. Iron helm engraved with an ornate pattern. Iron defensive wear. Yeah, iron defensive wear grants superior stability. Being from the north, it should also offer resistance to the cold. That's going to be a new type of damage and stuff that we have to deal with. It's cold. There's like a frostbite status effect or something. Haven't seen it, don't know what it is, but it's in the stuff here. You can see bleed resistance, poison resistance, frost resistance, curse, and the amount of poise it has. So yeah, we have good poise right now. We're also like over our weight limit. We're at 58%, and that's bad. That's a bad roll tier. I don't like that. So I'm gonna have to do something about that before too long. We have a round shield. It has, it looks like, 86% physical damage reduction. You can see over in the guard absorption section, kind of right in the middle of the screen. Standard round wooden shield. Wooden shields are light, manageable, and offer relatively high magic absorption. Skill, Parry. Repel an attack at the right time to follow up with a critical hit. Works while equipped in either hand. We will talk about the skill thing in a moment. Battle Axe. Easily wielded axe. Crafted for battle and inflicting standard damage. Its weight can be used to inflict high damage, but must be used carefully as it leaves its wielder open to retaliation. Skill War Cry. Let out a spirited war cry that temporarily boosts attack. Skills are an important new addition to the game, so we'll be talking about those real quick. The Battle Axe requires 12 strength and 8 dex, which we have because we start with it, and we, you know, that's how it's designed for us to start. But they both scale with D, both our dexterity and our strength. So this is not like a strength-focused weapon or a dex-focused weapon or anything like that. It's an okay, like it's an okay weapon, but we're gonna want to try and find more strength-based weapons as we go. FP cost, that's the other interesting thing. Right here, FP cost is 20, and then there's 2 numbers in parentheses. There aren't 2 numbers in parentheses for this particular case, but sometimes things will have the 2 numbers. That's our focus. So if we go over here to my stats, we go down here, we have health, we have stamina, and we have focus. Focus is like your mana. It's used when you activate certain skills and when you cast spells. So your spells are no longer here, you can do this spell twice. Your spell is now here, this will take so much FP. So if it costs 100 FP and you don't have 100 FP, you just can't cast the spell. So using the battle cry, the war cry, whatever that skill was on our axe, it uses 20 FP, 20 focus. And so we can do that 3 times. So I'll show that off in a moment here. But yeah, so the blue, like mana bar, the focus bar, that's a whole new mechanic. I'm glad I'm not playing as a spellcaster, although it would be kind of fun to mess around with that sort of thing. The only other things I want to point out, luck is a new stat. It governs item discovery. Also increases your ability to inflict bleeding and poison, which is really cool. So high luck means much better chance of like inflicting status effects or inflicting them like quicker. And then also governs your resistance to curses, so that's kind of cool too. And then similar to Dark Souls 2, I'm kind of glad they did this because what endurance I think it was just like an overpowered stat. It did too many things, and it was always like the highest priority stat for you to ever get in that game. But in Dark Souls 1, it governed both your stamina, so putting points into that stat would give you more stamina, but also your equipment load, so more stamina, and then also make it so you could carry more gear, which effectively just made it so that you used less stamina when you hit certain thresholds for that. So like it was so good. It was so good. So it's been split out again like in Dark Souls 2. Vitality affects your maximum equipment load, and endurance separately governs your stamina, and then also like lightning and bleeding. And there's a whole bunch of different attunement now controls how much focus you have. So you kind of do want to put points into attunement if you want to get more focus. And then also still attunement slots for equipping spells, stuff like that. And then the all the different resistances are split out through here. So I know that's getting like super explainy. Just roll with it. Last thing I want to point out is, I think the last thing I said was the last thing I want to point out. But we're going to do one more. Critical hit. 100 is just kind of like the baseline. That's for backstabs and things. A lot of dex weapons, especially like daggers, will have a much higher critical, which means that they have like a huge multiplier when you parry and then counterattack an enemy and stuff like that. So that's that in a nutshell. The way you use an ability is when you're holding something and you hit like left trigger, you know, it's the shield's ability, its skill is parry. Doesn't cost any focus, but you can see that. But if we two-hand our axe and then try to hit the parry button, we got that instead. That's our war cry. So, and that'll last for just a little while. And you can see we glow. Our character glows. You can see the buff up in the top left corner, the sword with the up arrow. You can see that used like a third of my stamina. So yeah, that all checks out. It all seems good. Does not last very long at all. But you know, it is a thing that we can do. So yeah, this is the tutorial zone. These are all going to be developer messages on the ground, just kind of teaching you the controls and how to play. I have run through here. Oh man, I love seeing all the creepy, like, sarcophaguses all over the place. I don't know. I like these environments. It's very macabre, very creepy. So, we talked about focus. It's probably safe for you to assume that focus is restored when you rest at a bonfire, like everything else I have. That seems legit. But you may be asking yourself, how else could you restore focus? What if you don't want to rest at the bonfire, or you're not near a bonfire, and you need to get your focus back? How do you do that? Well, that's what this is for. Ta-da! Ashen Estus Flask. So we have 2 Estus Flasks. Focus Estus and the Health Estus. So we have a total of 4 Estus Flasks right now. In a little bit, we will encounter an NPC who will let us, like, kind of control our allotments for Estus Flasks. So we have 4 total, and we can go, you know, 4 health and none of the focus, or split them 2 and 2, or leave it 3 and 1, or go 3 and 1 the other way, and so on. So, like, as we get more Estus later in the game, we'll want to do that. We'll probably want to do that. I don't know. I don't know how big of a deal it's going to be for me to use lots of focus with this character, or for me to want lots of focus. Ooh, hello. These guys are jerks, and you dropped another Cleric's Chime. The Cleric's Chime is, it lets you cast spells, miracles. And we're going to go this way. Turn back. A developer message that says turn back, and also a bloodstain. Yeah. Watching how other people died is always one of the most entertaining things. By the way, cutting myself off in mid-sentence there. When I drank the Estus Flask, you can see our Estus icon down in the bottom left is now only like 2/3 full. And I think that's just a really neat touch. Like, I really like that. So the reason we should turn back and we shouldn't go up here is that thing. That is like a spiky ice crystal 6-armed lizard monster thing. I'm gonna try to run over there and grab that item that's right above my character's head, off in the distance there, and we're gonna try to get out of here without fighting that thing. I've danced with it a little bit in my first attempt at kind of just experimenting with the game. Wolfenunrun Traveler. Yeah, this thing is really nasty. So we'll maybe go level up a little bit and then come back. I don't want to deal with it right now. Get out of here. Okay, I don't think it'll follow me beyond this. Yeah, okay, good. Good. I think we're fine. So this is where we actually want to go. I'm skipping over all these messages, by the way. It's the controls, and it's Dark Souls controls. Like, they don't really change too much between games. There was the one that explained how to do your weapon skill, which is something. And everything else. Yeah, restore your HP and Estus. So yeah, we can restore all of our focus with that Estus. We got these ones. Oh, and if we read the, it has an item description. Where is it? There it is. So the Ashen Estus Flask. Quite befitting of an unkindled. An Ashen Estus Flask turns a bonfire's heat cold. So it just, like, freezes the bonfire stuff. Yeah. So here's our first bonfire. These are the checkpoints. These are great, amazing things. We've learned a new emote. And, we can't... Hello. Oh, you're a pyromancer. You had the axe. That's kind of cool. We can't, like, level up or do anything here. We have to go a little bit further before we are allowed to level up or do any other interesting things at the bonfires. So, yeah, this is... We're still kind of in the tutorial area, but we got a little bit of stuff to go up over there. We got, like, an area to go through there, and then there's, like, that structure kind of tall and imposing on the right there. This area reminds me of kind of a mix of the Nightmare Realm from Bloodborne, especially with, like, all the tombs and stuff. And maybe a little bit of the forest, dark forest. But it's got just, like, that kind of creepy undead vibe, but also it really reminds me of the Undead Asylum from Dark Souls 1. Especially just like the cliffs and just kind of everything falling apart and buildings off in the distance that we want to get to, I'm assuming, and then have like that looks like Anor Londo, kind of. It doesn't look like Anor Londo, but it gives off that vibe. And there's maybe stuff down there too. I want to get down there. I want to go walk along those walls. I want to get on that roof and see if there are, like, items. Oh, man. Oh, man, I want to explore all that stuff. So excited. So, yeah, I have this next area here. That structure right there, that whole thing, that's as far as I've gotten in the game. So, just basically, like, to the end of the tutorial area. And we will be picking up here, and we will be, continuing on in the next video. I'm going to try to keep this one kind of short. I don't know, I'm expecting, because I'm unfamiliar with the game and I'm going in blind, the pacing is going to be just like however it all shakes out. I'm hoping to keep them kind of close to half an hour, but sometimes that doesn't happen, and there might be like an hour or a 45-minute long video or something every now and then. So, yeah, that's just the way it's going to be. Anyway, let's not have point be our main thing. Let's go with bow. I don't know, the bowing seems kind of pretentious. Yeah, no, we're not gonna do that. We can go with wave. There we go. Alright. See you next time. May the grace of the Twilight Dragon be with you.